Hello and welcome to the Car Auto Reviews channel, and welcome to the 2026 Hyundai Venue. And you might be wondering, why am I so excited? This is the cheapest car you can buy in the USA in 2026. Believe it or not. And in today's video, we're going to find out what do you get when you buy the cheapest car you could buy in the USA in 2026. Right after this. Let's start our technical review under the hood. Now, let's start with the engine. This is a 1.6 liter four-cylinder engine. One of the simplest engines you're going to find in a car in 2026. Let's start with the mechanical construction. So at the very top here, you got a plastic valve cover. I mean, look at these spark plugs. They're like right there. Can it be simpler than that? Underneath that is a two-piece cylinder head. So you have the cylinder head itself, and then you have a cradle that has the cams, and then the caps sit on that, and then they bolt down. They have sealer in between. Simple design. Does have hydraulic lifters, roller rockers, and whatnot. This is, of course, a dual overhead cam. This does have dual continuously variable valve timing. They are oil controlled, so the oil control valves are right here. Very, very simple. You don't have, this valve cover has nothing on it. The only thing is there's a little line here and a like a little connector and cam sensor, but that's about it. There's nothing oil related for the variable valve timing here. Super simple. This is a timing chain engine. Does have two timing chains. One of them goes from the cams to the crank, has an internal timing chain tensioner, and then the other one is a little one that goes to the oil pump, which is all the way at the bottom. That one has a little spring-loaded guide. Here's the interesting thing about this. So the front cover overlaps the oil pan. The oil pan, you remove it, you can actually pull the oil pump. That's the interesting part, because the oil pump is almost like all the way down. And then this does overlap it, that's the only thing. So if you want to remove the front cover, technically you have to remove the oil pan first, which, as we're going to look at it later on, super simple. It's very accessible. Now the block is all aluminum as well. It does have one of those cradles where all the main caps is in one unit and it bolts up and it contains all of them. Let's talk about the fuel system here because it's interesting. So this doesn't have direct injection. This is just port injection, but a special one. If you look here, this is a very special 2-injector per cylinder. Beyond me why that we need that, but that's how they designed it. And then the cooling system here is somewhat simple-ish. This is the interesting part. So mechanical water pump all the way at the bottom here, external, nothing belt-driven, nothing special about it. But this has a thermal management valve. So if you come look right here, that is a thermal management valve, which sends coolant where it needs to go. Not something I expected to see on this engine, I'll be honest, because this thing is so basic. And here is a very modern thermal management valve. Not a big deal. I mean, it's right there. Access is, we're going to talk about, the access is great on this car. This engine does have EGR, and this is, well, I guess this is how they're keeping it emission compliant. So if you look right here, here's the EGR valve. The only thing I like the position of the EGR valve, but the cooler kind of goes back and all the way in the very back where it's like not accessible. And we have all this room, could put it right here, but that's how they designed it. Now the transmission is a CVT. That's the only thing. I mean, I wish it was that regular 6-speed automatic transmission, not a CVT. It's just, the only concern I have with this CVT is the significant lag it has when you're in normal mode. And this car has sports mode. I don't know why that is, but that's the only thing. Otherwise, it's decent. Drives. This powertrain is actually pretty refined for the kind of car we're looking at here. So that is pretty good. Let's talk about a few observations here, because you know what? Again, I'm gonna just start in the note. This is the cheapest car for sale in the USA. When I look here, it doesn't give me that vibe, because I don't think this was designed to be the cheapest car. But after the Nissan Versa got discontinued, this kind of by default became. Who would have thought that the Hyundai Venue was going to win an award for the cheapest car? Doesn't feel very cheap. And that's the nice thing. It's not the highest quality materials in the world, but let's look at a few things. I like this design, this tension. This is a belt tensioner. So it basically bolts, one bolt here, bolts to the alternator. That's a pretty interesting design. Actually, it's super simple. You just take the belt, 2 bolts, and it's out. Very simple. Spark plugs, we talked about them. Super simple. Injectors, super. I mean, this engine bay is this is such a small car, and this is not exactly like a 3-cylinder tiny little engine. It's a 4-cylinder, it's a 1.6. There's a lot of room. A little room in the front, room on the side, room in the back. Things are wide open. I like the layout. Very, very basic. The most advanced thing here is that coolant, like the thermal management valve. But I like everything I'm seeing, honestly, because, yeah, there's cheapo plastic stuff. Like the purge line, it's very cheap. But, yeah, certain things, that's every Hyundai. But at least things are simple. There's no direct injection. There's 2 injectors per, but I hope they're durable. But here's the interesting part. On top of that, you do still get the 10-year warranty with this. So I don't know, other than that CVT, kind of liking to see a 2026 car with such a simple engine. I really like that. Let's take a look underneath the 2026 Hyundai Venue. And before we go in, remember we said this was the cheapest car for sale in the US today? I never said I'd say that about a $22,000 car, but here we are. That doesn't reflect underneath it. Let's start talking about it and you'll see why. First, you got a little plastic cover. Everything is wide open, but not completely. We're going to get to that. Here's a few things. Oil level sensor on the cheapest car in the US. Steel oil pan. Plastic oil filter and housing, but at least it's very accessible. This is a CVT. I want you to read this on it. I don't know what were they thinking with that. Do not replace the oil. Please replace the oil. Use the right fluid, but please replace it. But steel pan on this. So we're not seeing a lot of cheapo stuff. You expect that in a car like this. But no. And I love this. This is a little cover for the torque converter bolts. So if you're ever removing the transmission, it makes it super easy. Just for mechanics. Thank you very much. This mount is, well, this engine actually is pretty smooth, but this mount is, whenever you see this is an engine that's going to buzz and vibrate. Let's take a look at the front suspension here. So here we have some interesting choices. Steel lower control arm with the ball joint built into it, but I can't help but notice that this is plastic. So the inside of this ball joint is plastic. That's a brave choice. Same thing with the sway bar link. If you come around and see it, that it is a steel bodied but plastic inside. That's yeah, that's okay. McPherson strut design in the front. Axles are pretty small axles, but they are painted in the middle, and actually the finish on them is very nice. Look at that. That's a very nice finish. Speaking of finish, can we have a talk, Hyundai? This is the most beautiful exhaust I have seen on a Hyundai to date. And look at this finish. Look at the weld, the pipe they used. Why can't all your other models look like this? Why the cheapest model has a better exhaust than... Anyways. But here's a surprise. Look at this cover. That's covered all the way across. I mean, this is the kind of car you expect it to be just bare bones, nothing. But no. This is a nice thing. Even the finishing on the body is okay. It's not perfect, but for the cheapest car, this is not bad. This, of course, has beam suspension in the back, although it rides, in my opinion, doesn't ride bad. Fuel tank, small fuel tank right here. Very simple back suspension. Charcoal canister right here. You got the spring separate from the shock. Here's something interesting. I like this. I think, if I'm not mistaken, this is stainless steel for the filler neck. That's actually pretty cool. And the exhaust continues to be very nice all the way up to the end. I like that. And then this doesn't have electronic parking brake, it just has regular cable parking brake right here. And then brake hose, and it has this mechanism. Not my favorite type of caliper, but it works. Keeps things very, very simple. Disc brakes in the back, doesn't have drum brakes in the back. You know what? Looking underneath here, not bad for the cheapest car. This is like, actually, I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. This looks better than a lot of much more expensive Hyundais out there. So we're looking pretty good here. Let's take a look at the outside of the Hyundai Venue. And something's got to be said. Two ways we're going to look at this car. As a normal car. It's just there. It's not offending. I actually think this is going to age well for an economy car. But as the cheapest car in the USA, this is not bad. Not, of course, a looker. It's an economy car, but it's not offending. I actually find some new Hyundai models more offending than this. This just looks normal. It does have a strange feel about it. I almost feel like it was never meant for the US market. There are a few cues that suggest that. If we come around and look, very simple design. I mean, look at this hood. This has one line, and that's an extremely simple design. Don't really understand this. I have no idea what that is. Now this is a second car we see that in. But this is your cue. This is potentially designed for a different market. Because that is usually other country requirements that we have a fender turn signal. But the side is very simple. You do have this strange crease here and kind of dip, but otherwise it's pretty simple. It's not offending. Actually, I think it looks good. Only thing I don't understand why we need is an entire trim with a two-tone roof. Doesn't make it look better, but I thought the whole point of this car was economy, but I guess not. As we wrap around it here, I also don't think it looks offending. It just looks like a normal car. Nothing over the top. I think it'll age well as an economy car. It does say Hyundai, it does say Venue. I like the Venue, the inside, it matches the body color. But it's not an offending car. I do like how it looks, actually. It's not overstyled. Now we look in the back here. Decent storage. Of course, it's a very small car. You can fold the seats down. But what I like about it is this is not some flimsy, horrendous thing. I really like this. This actually feels nice. Now here is where I just don't understand what exactly happened. So this is part of the black roof. You can see it right here as well. It just looks strange. I think if we would have left the inside alone, that would have been, maybe stop it right here. That would have been perfectly fine, but that's fine. Then, of course, it's an economy car. There's absolutely no insulation here, which we didn't expect. There's a spare tire, which is really nice. And this is a super nice panel. Again, there's a lot of this car. This car doesn't feel like a cheap, horrendous car. It actually feels, there are some really decent materials here, which is pretty impressive at this price. I mean, never thought I'd say the cheapest car in the US was $22,000, but here it is, and it's actually not horrendous. This is really nice. Let's take a look at the interior of the Hyundai Venue. There's something to be said about this interior. It's not what you expect it to be. You expect it to be super cheap, super horrendous, just whatever, just to get the cheapest car. This is actually a pleasantly nice interior. The truth have to be said, because the layout is great. It's very basic. The materials don't feel like they're the cheapest scraps they have left over from other cars, so that is really nice. Let's talk about kind of living with this. The gauge is, I don't know if it's call it a screen. It's just a thing that mimicking a screen. It's a little bit in the middle. Steering wheel has very clear controls. Very nice to operate. Very basic. It has everything you needed to do, and nothing more, nothing less. Infotainment, I'm just surprised. It's a very small screen, which is perfectly fine, but it has a very good system. Wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto works really good. I'm really surprised by it, but at the same time admire it because it's simple and that's all you need. Underneath it, you have some physical buttons, volume, and you can skip a track or whatnot. All the buttons are very clearly laid out. Underneath that, in this high trim, you do have an automatic climate control. In the low trim, you do have like manual controls, which are all perfectly fine. Physical shifter, of course. This particular high trim, you pay almost $4,000 extra. You get the automatic climate control, you get a wireless charger, and heated front seats. And then we must talk about the elephant in the room, drive mode. Why do we need drive mode in an economy car? And here's the problem with that. We talked about it briefly, but let's talk about it a little bit. You put this in normal mode, it has a significant delay to take off. You put it in eco, you expect it to be that way, that's fine. But you put it in sport, it drives perfectly normal. So why do we need the drive mode again? Why is it always in normal mode where it doesn't lag? I don't know. That's kind of ridiculous. The second concern I have with it, the seats are not the most comfortable seats in the planet. Now, I get it, economy car, whatnot, but the reason they are uncomfortable is because they are heavily bolstered. Again, sport seats. Why do we need that? I don't know. But the design on the seat, though, is pretty impressive for a car in this price. That's the truth have to be said. There's a lot of storage. It's just driving this car. I gotta say, I'm surprised by it because I expected it to be a very cheap economy car. I get it, but it's actually very nice. There's a lot of space. It's very usable. It's very sensible, and I like that. It doesn't feel like a horrible car. It actually feels like a nice car. It's basic. Got everything you need, nothing more, nothing less. Keeping it simple. Let's talk about the back seat of the Hyundai Venue. I'm 5'7", this is my driving position. Very little knee room. Somewhat okay-ish headroom. It's not a bad back seat. I like that the seat is pretty high, so your thigh is completely rested on the seat. So there is that. You do have a pocket here. You don't have one here. It's actually not a bad place. You do have some USB-C in this particular trim, power windows and whatnot, but not a bad back seat. But obviously, if you're very tall, sitting in the back, this is going to be a problem. So, the 2026 Hyundai Venue. Who would have thought that this car would win a trophy one day for being the cheapest car you can buy new in 2026? And usually, when these words are said, everything else doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if it's a horrendous car to live with every day. It's the cheapest car you can buy. That's more than enough. That was the case in point with the Mitsubishi Mirage. After the discontinuation of the Nissan Versa, this became the cheapest car in the USA. And you know what? $22,000, I never thought that would be the cheapest car ever, but here we are. But for $22,000, it's actually not a bad car. Not even close to it. In some cases, it's actually better than other more expensive cars. Let's talk about this car as a whole. First, the looks are not offending. It's not some cheapo eco box that just looks horrendous. It's not a showstopper, of course, but it doesn't look bad. That's the first thing. Second thing is, we go inside, amenities and like kind of to live with. So this particular one we are testing is a very high trim, priced at $26,000. For the extra $4,000, give or take, you get some vinyl wrap on the roof. You get heated front seats and wireless charger and automatic climate control. I don't know, maybe different wheel, irrelevant stuff. I don't think anyone should consider buying this at the high trim because that's the whole point. You lose nothing in the low trim, in the base model. Nothing important, at least to me. Let's talk about the full recipe of this car. I like this engine because it's a simple engine. Very simple. As simple as they can come in 2026. Really dislike this transmission because I just wish they would have continued on and put a very simple 6-speed automatic transmission. That would have been even better. But it's a CVT. I hope it's reliable. But you still get the 10-year warranty with this. So how bad can it be? At least you have the warranty built in. Then we look at the inside, and this is where I'm just gonna come out and say, this is a nice car, flat out. It's not super loud and obnoxious. It's actually normal. What do you expect from an economy car? The layout is decent. The materials are not some super cheapo plastic. It actually feels nice. Infotainment system works really good. Gauges are right. They're just kind of mimicking a screen, but they're not. All the controls are extremely basic, very simple, very well laid out. Has everything you want. It's got a backup camera. It's got wireless Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. For a basic car, an economy car, it doesn't have a bad audio system either, which is usually expected to be horrendous. It's not. Only two things I have against this car, which is, in my opinion, just the effect of all car journalists and car people just going at manufacturers. You need to make more exciting cars. That's what happened. Seats are not very comfortable because they're too bolstered. Because, you know, this is a sports car. No, it's not. The second thing is, this has drive modes. Who would have thought that a Hyundai Venue has drive modes? And who thought in their right mind that we need to do this feature? Here's the problem with that. Eco mode, you expect any car in eco mode to be very slow and laggy and even slower than it already is. Sport mode drives like a normal car. Normal, which is normal, it has a significant delay when you take off, and it goes away when you put it in sport mode. I'm sorry, why do we need a sport mode in this car? See what happens when you copy-paste effect to everything? Does this strike you as a sports car in any way, shape, or form? Is anyone going to buy this car and drive it spiritedly? Please don't. This is a nice, basic car. Economy, and you know what the best part is? The cheapest car in the USA is not horrendous. Actually, there are some much more expensive cars that are horrendous. This one is not. And that's the best part. We have finally arrived at a point in the US, although it's $22,000, but we have finally arrived at a point where we can comfortably say that the cheapest car you can buy new is not horrible. Because it's not. That's the end of that story, to me, at least. I was expecting this to be seriously horrendous. I've never really driven a Venue before this one, I'll be honest. I'm impressed. It's Certain things I'm not impressed by, like the seats are not very comfortable and the sport mode is ridiculous. But for this to be a $22,000 car, the cheapest new car you can buy, it's very impressive. Very impressive, because it has everything you want and it's not just horrible. Actually, starting to like it. And the last question, anyone thinking of buying the cheapest car available new, is the reliability. I feel like this engine will fare better than this transmission. CVT engine, I don't have a problem with. But here's where this becomes kind of a good deal already. There's a lot of cars out there that have unreliable this and unreliable that. But at least this one comes with a 10-year warranty. I like that. I mean, hey, you bought the cheapest car you can buy new. It comes with you don't have to pay for an extended warranty. It already kind of comes with one. I mean, things are stacking up. This is not a bad deal. I'll be honest and say it. Cheapest car in the USA. Not bad after all. Folks, I hope this video was helpful and informative. I hope you learned something new. If you like it, consider giving it a thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber, consider subscribing to the channel. Check out some other videos. Until the next video, folks, may the Lord bless you and keep you, and you have yourself a wonderful day.